Good morning, everyone. We are here today, Celebration Church Johannesburg family. We welcome you, all our friends from all across the region, South Africa, Cape Town, Botswana, Namibia, wherever you're joining us from, we welcome you. My name is Pastor Precious Mushai, and I'm joined by my husband today, Pastor Give Mushai. You want to greet everyone?
Hi.
I'm excited, guys. You know, I was just saying to my husband, nearly everything in life comes with a manual, but parenting doesn't. So it's so exciting that we have this opportunity to just discuss and share our experiences as parents, but not only our experiences, but to understand what the Word of God says to each and every one of us. But before we proceed, I'll just ask Pastor Givmo to pray so that we can proceed.
Father,
Yes, Lord.
that you
Amen. Now, before we start, I just want us to acknowledge our senior pastors who are going to be with us on this panel this morning, Dr. Makoni and Pastor Audrey. Can you just give us a wave, a smile? There
Hi,
they
how are you?
We are well, we are well. Okay, we can hear you properly. All right, so before we start, we also just want to have a bit of an icebreaker to get us all into the mood of parenting. You know, parenting has ups and downs, but we need to rejoice the funny moments of being a parent, especially in times like this where, yeah, no one knows what has hit us, but God is still in control. So why don't we have a laugh as we just watch this video of what being a parent is like in this moment of uncertainty, lockdown, homework, homeschooling. Let's have a look at the video.
Hey, don't step on my veranda. Don't step on. Stand. Stay up. What?
They have given us homework.
You are home. Why don't you just enter inside and do it?
They said our parents to help us and they give us answers.
Then you go back inside and wait for your father to come back home.
But he's late.
Hey, are you a timekeeper? What kind of... So your father is late. So now you've become a timekeeper, eh? You're the one who keeps time. You're the one who knows what time someone is supposed to come back home, what time someone is not supposed to come back home. If they give you homework, they give you answers.
No.
So where do they expect you to get answers? How did you tell them that your mother is cancer and they expected you to come home and still get answers? Let me see. So what is the pass? You get me my phone. Because the way how you challenge me in front of my own child when I've paid my school fees, to embarrass me in front of my child so that I look extremely ignorant. Hey, and I just get embarrassed just like that. Remind me again, what's your teacher's name?
Teacher Jane.
Teacher Jane, yes. Yes, hello, Madam Jane. It is Kansi Ann. Yes, Immaculat's mother, yes. Yes. So you gave her homework to do from home, but you forgot. Yes, you forgot to give her answers. You forgot the... Oh, I'm supposed to come up with the answers. So where is the money? The money, because I paid school fees in full. I don't see how I get to pay school fees in full and decided to chase my child. Then only for you to send some of the work when you are lazy and you're seated on your lazy behind and you send my child home with work for me to do your work. Do you know what class I stopped in? Do you know the potential of my brain? So you are ready to help me embarrass myself in front of my own child just because you do not want to do your own work. My darling, if I wanted to do part of the work, I would have paid part of the school fees. The next time, you go inside and pick for me something. The next time you want to embarrass us, don't choose to do it in front of our children. What is past? What is past po? What is past po? I don't know. So if you want to embarrass me and send her to do homework, at least be kind enough to send me a message with the answer so that I also look proper in front of my own child. Right now she thinks I'm very stupid. I am actually stupid. Madam Jane, you realize I know where you stay. Madam Jane, give me a minute. Immaculate!
Yes.
Give me a minute. Bring my shoes. Bring me my shoes. This woman thinks I'm joking. She has not seen me properly. She has not seen me look important in other categories. Hurry up. Hurry up. Give me my shoes. Give me my shoes. Eh? Remove the rest. Eh? You can remove the rags. I'm going to come back.
Okay.
Wow. Oh, wow, 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 wow. Have we not all just been at that point where you just feel like, I need to go and fight with the teachers? What is happening? This season that we are in has really challenged us.
Homework. But now this thing of homeschooling has been thrown at us.
Yeah.
And I think many of us are experiencing something where whether it's online schooling or whatever mode of schooling that the schools are doing in this season, it's just been thrown in our faces.
Mm.
As we discussed this morning, I just want to hear from some of the parents who are on this platform. Just type in the comments how you are experiencing this whole idea of homeschooling or online schooling as we are doing in this season. And maybe as we discuss that, we'll share a few things in terms of how we can manage this in this season. Of course, we thank God that we are graduating from phase 4 into phase 3 and hopefully soon to phase 2.
Mm-hmm.
And sooner maybe I will go back to normal. Of course, definitely we are going to go back to normal where our children are in school. But these are some of the challenges that we have faced in this season. And this morning, we are going to be discussing some of these things and much more. Over to you, Doc.
Yes, parents do face lots of challenges. I mean, you didn't have any problem with homeschooling, did you?
I think as a parent, I'm also responsible over my children. But of course, you knew you were working together with the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So most of the time, the children were at school, and so it was not thrust on us as parents more than it is done this day. Yeah.
So this issue of that Kansime went through is something that everybody goes through. And I think that the challenge is that you as a parent, you need to continue developing yourself. You need to look at situations and say, look, there are things that I can manage and there are things that I can't manage. So one of the key things that parents need to deal with is to say, you know what, things are thrown at us. In life generally, you need to think about this way. There are things that you can control. And those things that you can control, you work on it, you control them so that it reduces your stress level.
Sure.
Then, but there are things also that you cannot control, you can just manage and you have to release them. So worrying about those things that you can't control, that you have no management over, really raises your stress level. So as a parent, you should be saying, okay, wait a minute. When we as parents, I mean, you know, I didn't understand a lot of accounts and things like that. So if I try to be the manager and say, I am dead, I'm the one who is supposed to handle the issues of homework when it comes to finances and accounts and things like that, I embarrass myself. And then I go chasing after the teacher. But we should be able to look at ourselves and say, who among us can handle this better? So if you are better at accounts, you handle the accounts. But we have to do the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pastor Precious, you and Pastor Givemore, your children are younger than our children.
Yes.
How have you been handling this?
I really like the statement you said that we are used to being in control, and when things are not in our control, we tend to panic. And I think that was my initial reaction. I think from the day the lockdown was announced, I thought, you know, I just need to get food and we'll just be locked in, we'll be safe. And then I was hit by the train wreck of my children's emotions, my emotions, the anxiety that they were going through, I wasn't ready for that. I think my husband is the more calm one in our marriage. So he was very grounded and he's really been a pillar of support for us. But like you said, you push yourself to learn, to say, okay, now that I'm in this situation, I started now reading up and also trusting in the word of God to help me deal with my children's emotions. So for example, our daughter started having nightmares all of a sudden. And my husband sat with her and he told her, let's go through Psalm 91. And it was so amazing. The next morning she said, I've memorized Psalm 91, verse 5 to 6. So it's really been a time of growing, a time of stretching ourselves as parents. Yeah. I don't know from your side.
Yes, let's hear from Pastor Give more. After having gone through the Psalm 91, and you were the spiritual man in the house, how did you have to deal with the challenges related to the emotional roller coaster?
Look, you know, I think it was more for one of my daughter. Of course, she's used to being in a classroom environment with the affirmation from the teachers and all that kind of thing. And suddenly, she's only interacting with the teachers through the Teams or through online teaching, and it then threw you off a little bit, and hence all these things start coming through, the irrational fears and anxiety. And so when I sat down with her, just reassuring her that, you know, God is in control. Despite what is happening, God is in control, and she can control the thoughts that are coming through her by replacing those kind of thoughts with the word of God. So we went through the whole process of how to manage your thoughts and replacing it with the word of God. And hence we spent some time studying, or rather, I just told him, go and read Psalm 91. And she did it by herself. And the following day she came saying, you know what, I memorized Psalm 91, and yeah, I'm feeling okay now. So yes, it was a bit intense, but God has been helping us.
That's powerful, isn't it? I think and when you deal with these children, you deal with there's a age-appropriate situation where you need to look at and say, look, my child is at this age. I remember, I think we had a situation where I was dealing with our little daughter when she was in high school and she was dealing with maths, so she was struggling, and I tried to help her with the homework. And now the methodology I was using and the methodology they were taught in school was different. And now you have this conflict. You're saying, look, this is how you do it. And she says, I really don't get it. That's not what the teacher said. So you now go back and study yourself. And it's challenging. And particularly if you think you know, and the teacher is going the longer route. And you're thinking, look, why not cut to the chase and just teach it this way? But unfortunately, you have to go down to where the children are at, what they have been taught. You need to engage and see how you can best help. So I think it's one of those things that we need to manage and we need to work through.
Yeah,
and
for
sure.
sure.
I think for you, Pastor Precious and Pastor Grismo, the disadvantage is that you are not teachers. Some of us are teachers by profession. So even when our kids were growing up, we were able at least to teach them from what we knew.
Yes.
And being a teacher, we knew which method to use with each child. So because children have different learning abilities. And so you really need to study your child and know it. And at the same time, with the lockdown, it was also very difficult in the sense that you could not even find an extra lesson teacher because everybody was, they were not allowed to come and everybody was overwhelmed. And each person is now trying to manage themselves and also their household. So I think the challenge was real. And still real.
No, so go ahead, Pastor Precious.
I just want to I think all parents on the platform, if you can just put an emoji to appreciate the teachers. I really, really have newfound respect for all teachers. The work that they do is amazing. I do not know how they do it with 20 kids. So we just want to honor our teachers in our midst and say, we really appreciate the work you do. I think sometimes it takes a kick for you to realize some things. And for parents, this was our wake-up call to say, teachers, we appreciate you. And even during the lockdown, personally, our children's teachers have been very supportive. You know, they didn't take a hands-off approach to say, oh, we've sent the children home, so let them deal with it. So that extra effort is really appreciated from all the schools and all the teachers. Yeah.
I think that's important. I think we can even go a step further. Pastor Precious, you are onto something very powerful right there. And I think what we can even do is I want to encourage all the parents who are listening to us right now, as the schools open, or if you have the contact number of your child's teacher, just send them a message to appreciate them. Say, we thank you, we appreciate this experience that I have gone through. Now you go through it every day, and now I have great respect for you. Just do something to appreciate them and to bless them, because this is what God expects of us, to be able to appreciate when people do well.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. You know, talking of this, I think one of the things, homework was definitely an issue. I think another issue is really when we went through this COVID situation, we had so much speculative news. We didn't know whether just walking past somebody would cause an infection. You didn't know. I mean, we were uninformed as parents, and we needed to assure our children. We needed to teach them. We needed to. I mean, children could be so angry because they're thinking this thing called COVID is just changed our lives, has imprisoned us, has stolen from us, and some will be bitter and angry and so on. So as parents, you now needed to be able to deal with those issues and say, how do I help my children give a proper perspective, not run around with conspiracy theories, not be too speculative. Where do I get solid news? Where do I get solid information so that I can help?
For sure, Doc. I think for us, the first few days, we were watching the news with our kids because we were in this mode of what's happening. We need to be informed. But we realized that as the stats increased and more people got this disease, more and more people were dying. You could see now, even our younger child, he's got a song for COVID-19. He's got stories of COVID-19. The children now got exposed, and that sowed seeds of fear. So in our house now, we don't watch the news on TV. If I want to know what's happening, or my husband wants to know, you watch on your phone. Because we saw that, like you're saying, there's so many voices speaking on TV that bring in those seeds of fear. And when the kids go to bed now, those things are replaying in their minds. So it's important as parents that we control what we feed our kids. Sometimes you can see something so shocking, you don't need to tell them unless it's really important that they know.
Yeah. Also, reading the news and some of the studies that have been done in terms of the impact of this COVID situation on the children, especially when they see so many people dying in other countries. And I think I've seen and I've read a number of articles that are speaking into depression and anxiety, clinical depression. That I'm talking about clinical depression because of the situation that we found ourselves in. So which then brings our role as parents, in the spotlight in terms of how do we deal with the children to ensure that they don't fall into these things. I think we're reading a few weeks back, a young man committed suicide, and all that. Those are some of the signs of clinical depression that some of the children found themselves in. Maybe sometimes you've noticed children throwing tantrums. Those are some of the signs of anxiety that will have crept in. And therefore, as parents, we need to be quick to know, okay, this is what is happening, and this is my role in this situation.
Yeah, I think we've got a picture that we just want to share with everyone. If we can have the picture. I also got this from the preschool where our child goes, and it's so informative because as parents, you see some of these things manifesting and you don't know that it is a reaction to the anxiety that comes with COVID-19 and lockdown. So this is mainly with the younger children. You'll see your child sometimes in outbursts of anger, resisting the new order. Remember, this is a time of rules, orders. You can't do this, you can't do that. So children now start resisting even the small rules that you give them, because they're associating what is happening out there with that small rule that you're giving them. So they'll say, why should I do 4 math problems? I'm only going to do 1. Or they say, I'm tired all the time. I don't want to go for a walk. I'm too tired. So when we see these things, and if it's not the norm for your child, it's time for you to take time to sit with them and ask them what is going on. Technology, I think we'll talk about technology. That's a whole discussion on its own. Displaced frustration. Why my son's favorite is, I don't like pap. Why do I have to eat pap? And boredom. I'm bored. And this infographic is telling that that's a code word for I'm sad. So it's important for us to realize how this depression, anxiety, stress manifests in our children.
I think it's very important as parents to know that unfortunately we now have to play psychologists as well, and be able to understand where our children are at, and have a feel of where they are at, and engage, emotionally connect with them. You know, it is very important not to be, you can be present and not be present. So you need to be able to link in, tune in with the children, see where they are at, and also begin to look at even some of this bad news. I think I like what Pastor Precious said, to say, you know what, we limit what they hear, but apart from limiting what they hear, they also hear from other sources. So we still need, as parents, to be able to talk to the children and say, look, factually, this is what is happening. This is what it means, and engage them, because if you ignore, they are having sources of information from elsewhere. And so it's very important for us to be able to engage the children, age appropriately. Don't overdose them with information that is that goes beyond them. But we should be able to say, explain something at the level that they can understand. And more importantly, as believing parents, we need to stay in the word. We need to show them from the word to say, look, while things are like this, God is still in control. And so it's very important for us to be able to do that. I think one of the parents who has raised children, they are now adults, who is on board, is Pastor Noel and Pastor Judith. So I just want to call in Pastor Noel and say, Pastor Noel, how would you handle this situation where you have children who are in a panic situation? We as parents, we are not too clear as well what exactly is happening. How do you maintain your stability and be able to guide the children in a situation like that? Yes, Pastor Noel.
Good morning.
Good morning, Pastor.
Yes, I think there are 2 issues. One is we need to look at the developmental stage of the kids, because your children are different ages and different. So I'll just say, like, there's children when they are at an age where they don't understand a lot of things. So you need to explain everything to them. And at that stage, they will believe whatever you say. And then children get to a stage where they start reasoning themselves. So then it's very critical. You have to be very careful how you communicate to them, because they now can question things. They can look. They can tell that, you know, you are not being genuine. You are not. So that is the stage where I think when your children develop into teenship, that's a very crucial stage. Because at that point, it's like Doctor was saying, there's lots of other information sources that are coming. So you need to be very careful. But one thing which kids are very, very, very alert to is never try to like lie to your kids and say, look, it's good. You need to be very genuine and honest and from the heart. And you need to be very transparent. And more important, kids actually look at what you do yourself. So like just was sharing about like the lockdown, the rules, the resistance. You have to be careful what you yourself are saying in front of them. Because if you are saying, look, I don't like this lockdown, I don't like, kids will sort of, also it goes into them and
Yeah.
they will start repeating those things. So no wonder sometimes then they don't actually follow authority, because they see, most of the time there's a stage where kids just see what you are doing, what you are saying, and consciously they build in it, and they are able to start behaving exactly accordingly. So sometimes you may be surprised, but why are kids not listening to me? It's because you are also, they are picking up from you, the dynamics around them. Kids actually copy very much what you yourself do. It's very interesting that, like, if you actually to go and talk to the kids, you'd learn a lot about the parents. Because they sort of follow, this is what the dad was saying, or this is what dad was saying to mom, or this is what mom was saying to dad. And that's how they get the education, and it builds up in them.
And I think also, Pastor Noel, thank you very much. I think the issue of being truthful, I think will also help, because you are the first port of call to your children. Before they hear any other news, they should trust the information that you give them as you engage. I think it is important, even as you are engaging with them at their different levels, you tell them the truth, because the question has always been, mankind, even our children, have always been asking the same question: what is truth? So as Christians, we have to really say, what then is the truth? The truth is, yes, this is a deadly virus, you can die, but you know what? If we maintain the social distancing, if we adhere to the directives that we are being given by our medical professionals, etc., we will not die. If we do what we need to do, this is what is happening. And at the same time, the word of God says, what does the word of God say regarding all this situation? These things there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
And for everything, there's a season. This is a season, of course, where we are going through this trial, but we are going to come out stronger. So you also help your children to be able to pray about it. And as they see the results, you know, that's a positive.
Yes.
I think that's powerful, and I think it's important to be able to deal with these things head on. The parents, we model what our children become. So we need to be in touch, to model and live right, like Pastor Noah said, to say, look, if I am complaining and I'm rebellious and I'm looking at this, say, how can these guys be doing this? I'm not going to do it. And so when we see it in our children, it's a reflection of who we are. Then we also saw that it is important to be able to to be emotionally in touch with your children and be able to engage with them, see where they are, and minister to them from a position of faith. So if I, as a parent, I am in a panic mode, I am not believing God, I'm not saying, look, God is not taken by surprise, then it's difficult for me to encourage them and to strengthen them, because myself, I am actually a nervous wreck myself. So it's important to get critical, meaningful information, engage with the children, but also we need to be able to let them know that, you know what, there are other diseases which have been worse than COVID. COVID is not the ultimate in terms of pandemics. So when we tell people that, look, people have gone through cholera, they've gone through Ebola, they've gone through HIV, they've gone through all these kinds of things, they've gone through the Spanish flu, and the world has survived. There is life beyond COVID. So we need to begin to speak to the hope. We begin to, so because otherwise your children can turn off and say, you know what, why should I go to school? Why am I doing this? Or we're all dead by the end, by the time this is over. So why should I do this? So we need to be able to structure ourselves and speak to those things. We also need, I think, our children are now adults, but we had to reach out and engage them, and we started a program where we spend 1 hour over Zoom with all three of them, and we are doing a program of self-edification. It's a John Maxwell program that we are engaging, talking, and as we do that together, as we work through the program, you now know where they are at, because somebody's saying, you know, this is what I'm doing, this is my plans, this is what, and they're committing and they're accountable. So you can do things like that with children, create time for them, where you can work with them, age appropriately, so that you can build on something and continue moving on.
Right. And I think even, thank you for that, even if you are staying in one room, don't be limited by the four walls. Have fun. This is a time for you to have fun. For example, the two of us have been locked down. we could have turned this area into a war zone. But we decided, let's have fun. We are even doing indoor walks, you know, because we found that if we stay and we say, okay, we are miserable because we are locked down, now we are waiting for them to open up the everything. So we won't have a life. So we have to be creative, even the two of us. So we are saying to each and every parent, or even if you're all by yourself, just create time to enjoy. Do the things that you may have wanted to do in a long time, but because of the business of life, you were never able to do them. This is the time to have fun. Have fun with your children. You know, I saw somebody had a game that they used the tiles in the house to make a game out of it. So you can use anything in the house. You can hide and seek. You can do whatever, but just have fun.
I think that's powerful, because it means that even when you are managing a stressful situation, you know, when bad things happen, you can still see to say, God overrides, God makes all things work together for good. So you can reappraise the situation, say, while we have had this lockdown, we didn't have much time together because we are all running around, or we didn't have time with the children. So how can we turn that for the good? How can we look at it in a positive way and say, now what is it? Now I can reconnect with the children. I know, for example, Pastor Givemore is very busy. He's always at work. And I think I want to know what, Pastor Givemore, how did this help you reconnect with your children?
When the lockdown started, unfortunately for me, I had to be at the office. One of my colleagues, I had a daughter who actually tested positive, and she was self-isolating, and I had to be at the office. So before I say much, I just want to appreciate Precious here, because she had to deal with a lot of the things that she had to do with the children, because she was working from home, but I was always at the office very busy. But what has helped me with the children is, you know, we always had somebody come to clean our yard and do those kind of things. So in what has helped us in this season is to work with my children, because now we don't have anyone coming to clean our yard, to cut the grass and that kind of things. So I've given my children the responsibility, and they are enjoying it 100%. And I gave them the leeway and said, you know what, you can charge me for this service. And they have been enjoying it, and we have found a connecting point where they're taking responsibility of some of the things in the house. And so every week, my older son says, Dad, I've cut the grass this week.
You owe me.
You owe me some money. Can I clean your car? So we have found that by giving them responsibility, we are engaging at a different level. Of course, it's something that maybe we'll get somebody come and maybe pay a daily wage for them to do that. But because we are now doing it together, we are connecting at a different level. And I liked what Pastor Audrey was saying, that even in terms of exercise during lockdown, of course, before level 3, we couldn't do anything. And one thing that we found very, very exciting, you know, we have Pastor John Tapera in Pretoria. He does a lot of things on Facebook in terms of in-house insane workouts, and we have done a few of them together with the children, and we have found a connecting point with them in doing that, where we do a 5-minute exercise. Everyone is out of breath after that, but we found fun in that, and we're connecting at that level.
Wow. I think also with the chores and responsibilities, it's been so amazing, because I've seen Pastor Givemore now bringing some lessons to the children through those chores that they do. So, for example, when he's washing the car, my husband will say, "I'm not paying you. This isn't done well. You need to do your job excellently." So there, he's teaching him now that standard of excellence, to say, no, this was done in a short way.
Moment, right?
Yes. So lessons that we couldn't teach effectively when life was in the old normal. Now I think we've got the time to actually pass down some crucial lessons to the children.
Right.
Wow, that's so good. So you see, Pastor Precious, thank you so much for sharing your experience as a mother in the home. But we may have some single parents out there who are saying, okay, I'm just so overwhelmed. I don't have anybody else to share this with. But you know what? It is important for you also to be able to know where you are at and then deal with that. For example, you could even do Zoom calls with an uncle, with a father figure, a mother figure, depending, just opening up your children to other family members, or even your pastors. You can just say, you know what, pastor, I would love you to just to speak to my children, or to pray with them, or they are going through this, can you help? So those are some of the things that even as a single parent you could be doing.
So there are support networks that are there that you can use, and you can get help. I think that's very important. I want to come back to the issue of exercises. I think it's important to know that exercise also helps remove stress. So sometimes, because we are so tight, we are looking at things, you can exercise at home. Now that there's an ability, starting the first, for example, for those in South Africa, starting the first, you can actually do walks. Other people in other parts of the world, they could do walks. It's important to be able to take the children out of the home and say, guys, let's go for a walk. Because that just the fresh air, you chat, you talk, and you are doing those things. And that is actually a distressor in itself. So it's powerful and it's important. It removes the possibility of depression, and it also manages anger and things like that. But I think one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that sometimes, because people don't have their own space, we are all locked, when we are locked down, we are all locked in this little space. And how do you manage that in terms of creating room for people to say, I want my own space once in a while? Pastor Noah?
Yes, on this thing of creativity, I think there's a lot that people can do, but it's like these things you need to be conscious of, intentional in terms of what you want to do. So there are a lot of things, like Pastor Gimo said, you can do some work, which is good. Teacher have assignment to say, okay, who is gonna empty the bin, who's gonna clean this, which is great. And then you can do games. Now it depends on, like, again, how many people are in the family, but there are games like you can play chess. I know when I grew up, I taught almost everyone who I came across how to play chess. And it's one of those games where, like, once everyone plays, it then becomes very interesting. And the other thing is, as you play with your kids, even work, you start also noticing certain of their traits, certain things which they are able to do well, skills, even the way they think, and sometimes even how to compete. You teach them, no, it's not all about you. You know, we need to compete fairly and so forth. And those things, I believe lockdown is actually an opportunity for you to learn and more about your kids, to bond and to grow closer, and to see how your child is actually developing, which sometimes is like, most of the time, especially in the urban areas, people are at work and they hardly have that type of quality time with their children to learn exactly how they develop, how they compete, their attitudes, and so forth, in areas where they may need help. So, like games, those are some of the things which you can schedule. And like, I'm giving a good example of like chess. Chess, like most kids can very easily, and it's a good mental exercise for them. It teaches them patience. It teaches them how to think. It teaches them a lot of things, endurance, and so forth. And then, like you said, also exercise. There should be time for exercise in your house. Then there's time for doing school, time for relationships, like Zoom calls and getting in touch with everybody else. And the other thing as well is, which is a very big thing in this day, is books. We get your kids to start reading. Because I think one of the areas where I would actually think one of the things which you want to do is to cut off TV completely from your kids and go through all these routines. And then once they get to it, they enjoy it. They completely forget, that you are even in a lockdown. What I normally used to do with my kids is, before when they were growing up, would make it as a point that every year we have time where we go away. On holiday, away from the house, where we stay all together and we do games, we play, and you learn a lot about the development. So sometimes you may think you know your kids, but you don't realize, no, they've moved. They're actually in another level than where you are. And it's that quality time. I believe this is actually a very big opportunity for families to bond with their kids, to learn how they're developing and to teach them. Because again, external influence are minimal. Because again, when you are within the lockdown, you can actually cut off you can cut out radio, cut out TV, and you have time to actually relate and to talk and to do a lot of fun together.
Yeah, so true, Pastor. And I think one of the things that we have been taught, particularly when you fly, is remember when the air hostess is telling you what to do and what not to do. They say if there's a loss of cabin pressure, put on your oxygen mask first before you attend to the child. What does that say to you?
It says, therefore, I need to manage myself first before attending to the children. Because if you are in a panic mode or you don't know which way to go, and you now try to put on the mask of your child's mask, then you discover that you're going to blow it up a big time. So it is important for me to deal with self, seek help first, and then I'll be able to minister to my children.
So I also need me time.
Me time.
It's important to build emotional reserve, and particularly women. They sometimes, when you are under pressure like this, you don't have that much of self-care. You are spending yourself. You are cleaning up the house. You want to make sure everything is spotless. But we are all in this house and 24/7, and sometimes there is no room to be picking up after everything. So you need sometimes to just say, let these things pass. Let me just go and have me time. I don't have to feel guilt to say I have this 1 hour just for myself. If I want to snooze, if I want to do anything that ministers to me. So it's important as a parent to understand that you need me time. Because if you don't put your own oxygen mask first, you are not going to be able to take care of the others. So that is very important.
And I think it also helps now that with this lockdown, most of the children now know how to do chores. So it also takes the burden off parents.
Yeah.
Because at times they will just rush out. Maybe they don't even make their beds because they are rushing to school or whatever. But now, because we are spending 24/7 in the house, it means that they are now becoming more and more responsible. So it takes away even the burden from the parents as well.
It does.
I just wanted to also, sorry if I can come in. Firstly, just to give all the parents, especially those here in South Africa, the local libraries, once they open, it's 50 Rand a year and you can get 10 books a week. That is a secret that I found that most parents just do not know. And just to back up what Pastor Noah was saying, let's get our children to read. And also what Dr. Makoni was saying, that as women, as parents, let's take time for ourselves. Sunshine, water, exercise, peace and quiet, time for prayer, time to be in the Word are very inexpensive but very vital things that I think parents need in this season.
Yeah, I think that's powerful. I think one of the things when we spend a lot of time together in the home, obviously there's competition for the computer and things like that. And I think let's just talk about the internet. Let's talk about the computer. Obviously, we fight over this asset, particularly if the gadgets are limited. There are things that the computer can do. So we need to just follow through and see how can we manage, how can we parent during the time when we are going to use this a lot. So I want us to just watch a small video that talks to the use of the computer and the abuse of computers in just a moment. So let's just take a cue from that and let's watch it.
It's a familiar sight in households around the world. Children being entertained and placated by technology. But this is also familiar. monumental meltdowns when the devices are taken away. They're reactions that are in fact symptoms of one of the major medical challenges of our time. What's being called internet addiction disorder. And it has mental health experts worried about children and their parents' actions.
They give their children a device at maybe 3 or 4, and all of a sudden that's all they want. And they don't want to play with other toys. They don't want to have any interest in other activities. They just want to be in front of their screens.
Okay, so add some more time?
Yeah. Yep, so add an hour.
I'm going to put the password
Brisbane mum Bianca Pevriol knows exactly what the experts are saying. Over the years, she's used the Xbox, smartphones and tablets to give her a few moments of much-needed peace from 2 bright, active boys.
Sometimes you have an important phone call or you've got a parent-teacher interview or whatever that you just can't be interrupted in, and it's so easy. It's peace in a pocket.
But recently, Bianca started noticing a dramatic change in 9-year-old Owen and 7-year-old Adam's behaviour as they became hooked on their handheld screens and the popular game Minecraft.
They would be playing every single day and they would be late for school and they wouldn't do homework, and they would become sort of aggressive and throw tantrums and that sort of thing if they'd played for ages and ages.
What were the kids like if you tried to turn off the Xbox or take away the tablet?
Yeah, well, that's tantrum city then.
The bad moods and the tantrums are almost like withdrawal symptoms.
Correct.
Do you agree with that?
I agree, totally, yep. It is. There is something about it that changes their brain.
And Bianca's right, there is something happening in young addicted brains. In early studies, Chinese researchers compared brain scans of average adolescent internet users to internet-addicted adolescents. In red, you can see the affected areas of the addict's brain, areas responsible for decision-making, emotions and self-control. Screen addiction distorts the same brain function as alcohol, drugs and gambling. And it's exactly what was happening inside Tam Neal's brain.
It's like a tunnel vision. I feel like I lose my sense of peripheral vision, my sense of light. The day could change from day to night and I don't notice. I was a mess. I didn't function like a normal human being. I didn't cope with anything.
It could be the bottle or drugs or gambling, but Tam's talking about her addiction to the internet, especially online gaming.
How bad is it?
At the worst, I was gaming for 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, non-stop.
Tam was a prisoner of the online world. Married with a young son, her daily life was completely consumed by surfing the internet and playing games like Tetris and Solitaire. So much so, she chose her computer over her family.
When you were at the worst,
how did your life collapse around you?
My son was at a friend's house on a play date, and I knew that if I didn't go and collect him and go home and make dinner and just get on with the evening, that was it, it was going to be over. And I thought, I can't handle that, that's too big, I'm going. And I left, and I went internet cafe hopping that night, and I spent the night at an internet cafe. That was the real rock bottom. That was the day that I made the decision that I was going to turn my back on my life and my family and choose gaming. And even though I had hit rock bottom already, and I knew how bad things could get, I still chose gaming.
Tam acknowledges she has internet addiction disorder, and if you're sceptical about the diagnosis, then watch this.
Now you tell me at any stage if you're not comfortable. I'm very much guided by you.
Okay.
To show how she's affected by this addiction and what she does to control it.
Reality becomes like white noise.
Right, so you zone out.
Yeah, I really zone out, and it's like I can't hear anything. And so I feel okay to go into this place today because I'm here with you. You're like my anchor. You're in the real world.
Right.
A brave Tam takes us to an arcade full of computer games. adult versions of what our children encounter on their screens and programmed like pokie machines.
Noise and sound and colour, and so it's very hard to explain to people that don't know the physiological response.
Yeah.
But I think that it's really important that people can see it, because...
But in just a few minutes, she becomes a different person, completely overwhelmed by this environment.
Well, this is what's wrong. This is why that I'm... Can we move down there a little bit?
This way, come on. I can see you're even clutching at your chest, and it's overwhelming, isn't it?
Yeah. I find it hard to focus, and I find it hard to articulate. No, not there. Yeah, I just want to get out of here now.
Yep, let's do it. That is like, you know, a gambler being in a room full of pokie machines, or an alcoholic being in a bar.
Yeah.
And I can see you are struggling up there.
The message that I'm hearing is, what's my goal now? Where's the next gold coin? Where's the next bit that I need to pick up, or the key, or... it puts me right back into a gaming mentality.
Internet addiction really is like any other addiction, where you're talking about how do you diagnose it when it becomes problematic, when there's consequences.
He was spending 40, 50,
Dr. Kimberly Young is a psychologist and a professor at St. Bonaventure University in New York. She's a pioneer in the field of technology and internet addiction. I think parents are trying to catch up. We all think we've done the right thing by handing over all this technology, but now we're realizing there's a problem.
Yes, and that's really where the key is that we aren't giving any messages that there's a potential downside.
I love the seaside and I love the snow.
How have we got to this stage that there is an addiction to the internet?
What really happened, I think, to jettison this issue of technology/internet addiction is mobile. And in 2010, the first iPad was introduced, and now everybody has a smartphone. Everybody has some kind of tablet device. And so it really brought home this issue of internet addiction.
So it is an addiction that you can compare to alcohol addiction or gambling?
Yes, I think the diagnosis is fairly similar, because addiction is addiction.
Dr. Young has many patients exactly like Tam Neal. She's also used to seeing plenty of teenagers addicted to technology. But almost unbelievably, it's now troubled toddlers and young children who are coming to her clinic.
You know, if, say, a parent says, okay, you can't be on the internet for all afternoon, a child starts throwing a tantrum, or they become even violent because they're feeling this need to be back online.
Is handing devices like smartphones and tablets to young toddlers a path to addiction?
I think it can become potentially quite dangerous. And now the age group has moved from teenagers to now really young toddlers, and saying even at 3 or 4 or 5 years old, I'm not able to control my child.
What does this place offer?
It's a chance to, as apropos as it is, unplug.
In Seattle, Washington, 25-year-old Tom is a patient at America's first residential treatment facility for internet addiction. It's called Restart. This peaceful homestead is off the grid. No phones, no devices, and definitely no internet.
At one point in my life, I handed my future, my free will, I handed myself over to a machine and let it dictate what I did.
So you were addicted to the internet, addicted to your computer?
I was addicted to gaming, browsing, porn. Yeah, I was addicted to the computer.
So to unhook himself, Tom's checked in here for a 45-day digital detox. It might seem an extreme measure, but at its worst, Tom was spending 18 hours of every day online.
It was a way of numbing out, not having to deal with real life.
So through the internet, you were escaping real life?
Mm-hmm. Through my games, I was living out more exciting lives.
Who were you online then?
Whoever I wanted to be.
Dr. Hilary Cash is one of the founders of the Restart program.
For many of these young people, their interest in video gaming and their addiction to video gaming often started when they were quite young. And so that is, I think, the most difficult challenge for these young people who have been gaming since they were very young. It's where their self-esteem comes from and their identities are really built around it. So asking them to find new ways to build self-esteem and identity is a big challenge.
Tam Neal has had to rebuild her life. She's had plenty of therapy and has learnt to ration her computer use, 20 minutes a day for emails only. The treatment's working.
I'm sorry. It's okay. That was great. I'm so sorry.
But the best news of all is the husband and son Tam once abandoned are all back together as a family.
A simple life for me, that's really, it's so valuable to me, and I'm achieving that today, and if that feels good.
You must feel like you're living again.
Yeah, I'm starting to live. I'm starting to live like a normal person.
You're back in the real world.
Back in the real world.
Not getting to Tam's stage is the big challenge, according to Dr. Kimberly Young. And she says parents need to drastically change young children's daily digital diet, including games marketed as educational.
From birth to age 3, maybe they shouldn't have any technology, because really, do they need it? Then maybe from 3 to 6, they can have like maybe an hour of technology, but supervised, very controlled, and you're still encouraging sort of other exercise and activities. From 6 to 9, maybe 2 hours of use, but that still is very controlled and supervised. And so by the time they're kind of on their own with the technology, it's less invasive and it's less compulsive.
Back in Brisbane, Bianca Pevriol has already taken on the technology and won.
Right. So that's where that is.
She's now in complete control of home computers and gaming devices with a parent-controlled app that restricts the sort of games young Adam and Owen can play and for how long.
So how does it work? You can't play this game unless Mum pops in the code, the security code.
Yeah.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad thing.
Now, if you didn't have the timer on there, how long would you play on the game?
I don't know, until my eyes hurt.
The app and a table of chores
That day to watch TV, 50 points.
means Owen and Adam have now detoxed from their devices.
Is there a difference in the boys' behaviour before and after you started controlling the time?
Yep, big difference.
You had to use technology to fight the technology.
I know, it's ironic, yeah. I see the irony, but it's true. It's like there's an app for everything now.
Hello.
Wow. So we see addictions also come if we are not careful. And what is very exciting about all this is that finally the family was reunited, though there'd been that breakdown within the family because of this addiction. And the unfortunate thing, it was not only looking at that family, it was not only the children that were affected, it was the mother. So if we are not even careful, us as adults can also get so addicted to some of these things to the detriment of the family.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pastor Audrey. And I think it's so important that as parents, we learn to put boundaries. I know for us here, we've got a 4-year-old child, and he starts counting down from 10:30 because he knows that from 11, he's allowed to go on the computer. But he knows that he only has the 1 hour. So at least, he knows we've put the boundaries to say, okay, from 11 to 12, you can do what you want on the computer. And like what that lady was saying, the expert, she was saying, recommending that from 3 to 6 years, an hour is enough for a child on any device. And from 6 to 9 years, try and limit it to 2 hours, but always maintain the adult supervision, because you know what? There are weirdos out there, there are perverts out there, there are things popping up on our children's screens. So make sure that you have technologies that block unwanted pictures, unwanted links on your child's device. There are devices such as Safe Family, which sort of like what the other lady was using to make sure that she controls the device. So you actually have the ability to control your child's device. You can lock it. So it's only unlocked from a certain time to a certain time. But the power of boundaries as a parent is so crucial. You control what your child consumes digitally from day to day. You have the power to control.
And we also see that it is also important to discipline our children, because one of the things that may go lacking is that as parents we are thinking, oh, with the lockdown maybe my child won't turn out for the good, so let me be soft. Discipline should be applied at all times. So it is important for us to discipline our children, so that you could see even little girls, they were throwing tantrums. So as parents, how are we dealing with our kids logged in and they are throwing tantrums? Pastor, give more.
Yeah, so if I can just come through, I know Precious was speaking to some of the controls that we tried in the past, but we only got there because we actually learned from the hard way. I just want to give a few examples. I know when our son was it 8 or 9, we discovered that yes, we were kind of controlling or limiting the time for him to be on the tablet. But what he would do now is that when everyone is asleep in his bedroom, you then take the tablet, put an alarm, wake up at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., starts playing games on the tablet. And I think we started seeing the effect or the impact of it in his school grades were also dropping at that point in time, and we couldn't understand what was happening. But somehow we then discovered that this is what he was doing. In the middle of the night, we'd wake up to play computer games on the tablet. So, and I think, and recently as well, because of this lockdown, of course, we're kind of lenient with every one of them. And these tantrums, they are real, and we have seen them in our younger children saying that, you know what, I want to play Minecraft, I want to do this. Please give me the password. So these things are real, and I believe most of the parents on this platform have experienced these things. So I really like what this video is teaching us in saying that, you know what, just like we've learned about addictions, alcohol addiction and drug addiction, there is something called internet addiction.
Not only internet addiction, I think there's this game called Minecraft. So at some schools, all the kids actually use Minecraft as part of the school curriculum. So for example, they're given, maybe in Afrikaans, they're given a script to say, build a farm in Minecraft, right? So she has to, or he has to use the tablet, and they tell you they're doing their homework. But the more they spend time in Minecraft, the more they are getting addicted to the game, the more they are getting addicted to the device. So it's like, as parents, we are in a catch-22, because they'll tell you, I'm doing my homework. You don't know if they're really doing their homework. So you really need to be vigilant. Like, okay, show me, what is this homework? What did your teacher say you have to do? So is that in line with what you are doing right now? And obviously that time, I think a routine is so important. So what are you doing from 10 to 12? Okay, you're doing your homework. I want to see what you've done in the 2 hours. I think as parents, we just need to not be too relaxed and instill that discipline, like what Pastor Audrey was saying.
So we see there are some warning signs actually when we look at internet addiction. It is also important for us to as parents to be able to manage and say, okay, how is my child getting addicted? So internet addiction is a disorder which is mostly seen in kids aged between 6 and 19. And some of the things that we need to look out for are like, you see your child is more comfortable with online friends than real ones. You know John, and you may say, okay, let's call John, and he's saying, no, I don't want to be talking to John. So when he becomes more comfortable with online friends, know that there's something wrong. Or when your child gets irritated or is anxious, if his or her online time is interrupted, you say, oh, because we didn't manage to finish this chore, we cannot go on internet right now. Then you see the irritation. That shows there is an addiction that is about to happen, or they are already addicted, or when they show diminished interest in activities. You say, okay, come, let's help clean up or help me do this, and then they don't want to participate. Even when you want to do games as a family, they may just start distancing themselves. They say, I don't like snakes and ladders. I don't like to do Scrabble. I don't like to do this. They don't want to spend time with family. When they want to isolate themselves most of the time, those are warning signs. Or when they are secretive about their internet usage, it is important for you as a parent then to say, there's something cropping up here.
I think that's so true. When somebody becomes secretive about anything, it shows that the possibility of an addiction. But I think if we go back to one of the things that Pastor Noah said, to say that we as parents should be role models. And sometimes these addictions, even as we saw on the video, also happen in adults. So if we try to correct the problem in the children, when I as a parent, I have an internet addiction, then it does not work. Because you can be addicted whether it's even positive, relatively good things like blogging, or whether it's audio and paid things like pornography. It could be all kinds of things. So I, as a parent, if I have all my relationships online and I don't have relationships with anybody real, then it creates a problem. So we should not just be looking at the children. We should look at, how am I modeling? What is it that I'm sending out? How am I showing out to the children to say, this is the way to do it? So we begin to see withdrawal symptoms when somebody is told they can't access internet. Now they are moody, they are brooding, and all those kinds of things. These are all signs. And what can parents do? I want to call on Pastor Noel, say, obviously, I think he raised his children before these kind of addictions. But from a wise man's perspective, what are the few things that you think can help parents deal with this internet addiction? Pastor Noah?
Is coming up.
From the clip that we just watched. Well, there are technological things that you can do to control access of your kids to your devices, like Pastor Precious was saying. I'm sure there are programs there that you can load, right? And the other thing is, I think it's very important as a parent to know what your kids are up to. So one of the things is, again, is to have probably some software which gives you an indication of if you check your computer, you can be able to see what sites your children are visiting and who they interacted with. I think that is very important. And it's also linked to what Pastor Audrey was talking about, checking behavior and discipline. That, look, kids, especially at certain stages, kids just need to understand that there are no-nos, and then there are certain things which you can be flexible about. That needs to be very clear. They need to know that this is completely out of bounds. And so it's important to know what is it that they're up to. And like during this time, it's like I was saying, it's important to actually play with your kids. And one of the problems which we have in the current society is this thing where someone can just go to a computer and spend the whole day looking at it. We need to teach people to be able to interact with people. So interact with your kids, learn to play with each other. Play those games like now we have time. Go onto the computer with them, play with that. You get to know at what stage your kid is. And you very easily tell if your kid is addicted or not. And then you can take corrective behavior. And I think the lockdown is an opportunity actually for parents and for to link up with our kids and to learn which stages they are in, whether there are any problems or there are no problems. And kids are kids. Eventually, you get to know about it, and they'll be honest about it, or they'll basically say it. Unfortunately, what is now happening is we have people who have grown in the computer age now. Like, you may get people who have actually gone from childhood exposed to these gadgets, and they are now adults. And then they become adults, and then they even go on, like you're saying, especially this gaming thing, where look, A person is like a zombie. He's basically hooked onto the machine, and the is now controlling his life. He has no other life outside of normal. So those are the issues. The key thing is at a certain stage early in the lives of kids, it's very important that, look, we know what our kids are up to, and we stop certain things which they should not have. Even the homework, let's check what homework, let's do homework together. And then that's good. And I think it's a question of like really time, because and balance. Your kids need to have a balance in their lives. We can't just all be hooked in one thing. Everything that we do must have a balance. But time for playing computer games, time for praying, time for school, time for games outside, for walks, for jogs. But more important is, I think, create in the home an atmosphere of fun and joy.
Yeah.
That is the most important thing. Is everyone must enjoy what we are doing. Even if we are working, maybe we are baking, let's enjoy what we are doing. And then that way it goes away the attention to from saying, look, I have to go to video game, because they can still find fun in the normal day-to-day life.
Right.
Excellent.
Thank you so much, Pastor Noel. I would just want to read from the Word of God concerning the things that we have been talking about. If we look in the book of Proverbs 29, verse 15, I'll read verse 15 and verse 17. Verse 15 says of Proverbs 29, the rod and rebuke give wisdom, but a child left to himself brings shame to his mother. And then verse 17 says, correct your son and he will give you rest. Yes, he will give you delight for your soul. So the issue of discipline, parents need to discipline their children.
I think it's important to appropriately discipline children and without abusing them. I think we are beginning to see a generation rise, which is undisciplined children are brats. It's the children who are beginning to control the parents. The parents, they lose it because they can't even control their children. Now, the moment we do that, we are raising a generation that disrespects authority, that can never be controlled. They get into the marketplace, they become useless, they are fired from time to time, because the moment somebody says no, they throw a temper tantrum. So it's important for us to be able to put boundaries for our children and teach them to say, you can't always get whatever you want in life. There are limits that you need to do, and we need to begin to put in those limits. If we don't put the limits and if we don't tell our children that life doesn't just give you everything you want, then we are really setting them up to fail in life. So it's important as parents for us to be able to discipline in a godly manner, to raise them in the knowledge of God and the fear of God. As a matter of fact, the Bible says in Colossians 3, verse 21, it says, fathers, do not provoke your children to anger, lest they become discouraged. But rather it talks about teaching them and raising them in the knowledge and the fear of God. So we need to have a sensitivity to say, while I'm disciplining, while I'm creating order, while I'm putting boundaries, I don't provoke them to anger. By provoking the anger, it says, I'm doing things that are unreasonable and I'm being mean to them, so I can raise them in the knowledge and the fear of God with the balance. I think our time is almost up, so this is what I'm going to do. I think we have had a wonderful time, but I want to just give each of the panelists just 1 minute to give some advice, some counsel. What is it, a take home that you want to leave us with? So we'll start with, obviously, with my wife.
The word of God says, foolishness is bound in a child. The rod of correction will drive it out. And I think it is important for parents to make sure that we have boundaries and we are leading by example, and we know every child has some form of foolishness, and let's not hesitate to give discipline. It is important to discipline our children.
Because even God disciplines the children he loves.
Does.
So if I fail to discipline, it means I don't love that child.
Right.
Okay. Yes, Pastor Givemore.
Well, I think for me, is to say that the responsibility of parenting is a huge responsibility, which we cannot transfer to anybody else. And we have this responsibility as parents or as guardians to ensure that we train up our children, we discipline them, as everyone is saying, so that in future, when they become adults, they become the citizens that our countries need and want, who are productive and who are not rebels. And like Pastor Noah says, there is a time for everything: time for games, time for serious works, time for chores. And I think we need to manage that. Time for prayer, time for worship, and as parents, we need to model that. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Pastor.
Yeah, from my side, I think this season has really taught me that I can teach my children endurance, and I want to challenge all the parents that it's easy for us to cushion our children in a cocoon, but the real world is waiting for them out there. So let's use this time to teach them that they are strong, they can overcome, and they can endure. So we are the ones who have that responsibility to build up a whole man and a whole woman for the future.
Yes, thank you so much. So powerful. Pastor Noel and your family, we are over to you.
Yeah, thank you. I think for me, it's let's teach our children identity. I think identity starts with us, that we are children of God. And you know, like the relationship with the Lord Jesus had with the Father, he was always conscious that, you know, it's like I'm a child of God, and I'm a son of God. So just as we as parents are children of God, our children are also our children and our children of God through that. And then God is in control of all the things that are around us. So let's move away from a spirit of fear and teach our children confidence. Let's educate them, not intimidate them. Let's tell them that, look, you know, this is the environment, these are the consequences, but you know what? God is in control. If we comply, there's no problem. If we wash our hands, if we sanitize, if we keep social distancing, we are okay. We are okay. There's nothing that will happen to us because God is in control. So as parents, let's give our children confidence and that, look, you know, it's not the end of the world. And in the meantime, let's have fun as a family. Let's play games. Let's discover other things that we were not able to do whilst we were away, whilst we were going to work and so forth. And when we come out of this lockdown, we'll have bonded and we'll have also improved in a lot of aspects of our lives and our kids. Thank you.
Thank you. So powerful. And I think it's important to create an atmosphere of faith. Yes, there are challenges in parenting. Times are challenging, but we have the grace of God, the help of God that can help us as parents to navigate at these difficult times. We should not throw up our hands and say, I don't know what to do. You can always lean on God. I remember a testimony that one of our cell members shared. She said, look, when this issue of home schooling started, I really was panicking. I didn't know what to do, and I was all over the place. Until one day I just said, no, enough is enough. I'm trying to do this alone, and I don't need to do it alone. So she said, I prayed about it, say, Lord, help me, give me the grace, give me the capacity. And she says, now time for homeschooling in our house is not really a war zone. You see, I am relaxed, I am composed, I'm not panicking, I'm not running around, because she tapped into the resources we have. As believers, we have internal resources in the faith, we have internal resources in God. So we should be able to use that. When our children see that calm confidence in a time of storm, it actually steadies them for life, to say, when life throws a curveball at you, you can still operationalize your faith, walk by faith, and God will help you. So I want us to pray. I want to pray as we close, that God is helping his people. He's strengthening us, that even in terms of our children, we don't have to give up. We don't have to say, yeah, we may have made mistakes. I may have done most of the things that we are correcting here. You may say, oh my God, I failed here, I failed here. But God is a redeemer. He redeems our past mistakes. He gives us hope. He sets us up to start again, even where we have failed with some of our children. God can help us. Even if as a parent, you are the one who is addicted to the internet, you have the internet addiction disorder, you can break free, because Jesus is Lord and he can help you. He can redeem your situation. And we can end on a note of hope, that we can look back and say, you know, that time when we went through that COVID situation, it allowed me to relook at myself, relook at my situation, to reappraise my situation, and it actually good came out of it. So I want us to pray right now. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you that you are a parent, you are Father yourself. Father, you have known how to deal with us. We know we are difficult people sometimes, but you have been able to help us and to father us. And because we turn to you right now and say, in these difficult times, Father, may you help us, may you strengthen us, may you strengthen every parent, even those who are beginning to gasp for air. Father, stabilize them. For those who are stressed, may you stabilize them. Father, may they lean into who you are. May they lean into your grace. May they lean into your strength. May they receive the help of God, that their parenting may be powerful, that they may raise their children in the fear and the knowledge of God, that they nurture their children in the fear of God. Father, in the name of Jesus, we refuse, Father, to be blackmailed by circumstances, by situations, to panic or to give up to despondency. When people talk about things, Father, we say our faith is set in you. Father, our hope is set in you. We are strong, we are solid. Our children will grow right. Our families will be right because you are helping us. You are our anchor, you are our strength. So we turn to you, we look up to you, Father, and we believe you for your redeeming power. Father, I pray particularly for those who may have been addicted, who may have been stressed, who may have been sliding even into depression. Father, we pray for your intervention, we pray for your healing hand. We call upon the Lord Jesus Christ, and let your healing grace break through into our families and stabilize us and help us in the name of Jesus. We thank you, we honor you because you are helping us, you are strengthening us in the name of Jesus. We give you glory, we give you honor in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank all our panelists. Pastors, thank you for coming on board. Those who tuned in and were with us, we hope this was useful to you. We pray that God will help you and will strengthen you. You are powerful, you are effective. As parents, you have the grace of God helping you. We look forward to seeing you in our next seminar and we will advise you when that is due. Thank you so much. God bless you and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you, Pastor Audrey.
Thank you, Pastor Audrey.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you, pastors. Thank you, everybody. God bless you.
Thank you.
Let's go. Yeah. From the east to the west, let's run. Let's run. Let us stop all the fighting, the war has been won. And pick up your courage, now it's time to carry on. Carry on. We'll carry on. Lay down your defense to the love of the Holy One. From heaven, I got it, let's go. Whoa, whoa. Your love is drawing me close, I feel it, let's go. Whoa, whoa. And I didn't think that I would get this close to you. And now my heart's on fire with all the love that you put me through. Put your hands together for Jesus. Come on. Yeah, let's run. Let us run from the east to the west. Let's run. Let us stop all the fighting. The war has been won. Pick up your courage. Now it's time to carry on. Carry on, carry on. Lay down your defense to the love of the Holy One. Fire fell down from heaven, I caught it, let's go. Whoa.